Right, I've cleared the pots out of the greenhouse and had a bit of a tidy out before I start moving plants in earnest. I'm just going to sort this, because this is wire, but this rope, it's once we get a weight on it, it sort of sags and it's not that strong. So I'm going to replace this and this that I put on last year. It's got too much give in it, so I'm going to replace it with wire so that I can tie things to it. I mean, you can see it sort of sags where the towel is. So that's one job. I've sort of brushed out the worst of the cobwebs, and I'll go through and clean the windows at some point. But that's a simple job. So all this stuff's been cleared out. Obviously the greenhouse is still here, and we'll get that sorted. And having cleared all this space, I've now put all this pots and things in here that were in the greenhouse. So I'll go through and refresh the compost in these. Got the tubs ready. I've got a bit of manure. I've got the leaf mould in there. I've got some soil as well that I dug up from somewhere. Oh, it's in one of the baths. I'm going to mix a bit of soil, a bit of leaf mould, and sift the old compost, and that should be the new compost. The only other thing I'm going to add is some crushed eggshells, and when I put the plants into pots, I will add a bit of fish blood and bone as well. Got a lot of pots to fill, so that'll keep me busy for the rest of the day. And this was okay, it worked fine, but it's just this plastic wasn't really strong enough to stay waterproof, so I think it just got torn. It was only a bin bag anyway, so it was only meant to be temporary. But I will replace it with some of this plastic if I can find a piece. I mean, this one's got holes in it, so that's no good. But if I can find a large enough piece without holes in it, I'll replace it, fix that with it. Right, I've got some good stout wire, and I think this piece that somebody was getting rid of is long enough to do the job. But it's a job that needs two pairs of hands. I've only got one pair, so I'm not going to be filming it. I had a bit of a problem that I was trying to put the wire around it. This was up there, and as I went to put the wire around it, it just snapped. So the bottom piece of the hook is actually in the wood, and it just snapped from where it was, more or less from where it was in the wood. I mean, it's a rusty old thing, so that doesn't matter. I thought, oh no, I'm stuck now. Then I went and asked my friend John, because I knew he was building something, and I said, have you got a drill? And he said, yes, and I've got some hooks. So he put those hooks in on this side, and so we put the wire in. So it starts at this end around that hook, and it goes up to that end, wraps around that first hook, it wraps around this hook, then wraps around this hook, and then goes all the way along. The towel is hanging there because obviously there's not going to be anything connected to this middle bit because it's right above the door. So it goes down here and connects to, there's a nail up there, and it goes around there, and then I just twisted the two ends around just to connect them up. So that's good enough for the tomatoes. This is actually tied to the bottom of the pot, and the top end is tied to the wire, and then the tomato just gets wrapped around the string as it goes up. Seems to be, oh, I think I just damaged it when I was moving it about. Yeah, it's just a slight damage. I thought it was something was eating it, but no, it's just a bit of, must have caught it on something. But yeah, I can put the other ones in as well now, and we're done. Right, brought in some clippings of a conifer tree from home, so that can mulch this blueberry. And you won't get any horrible weeds coming up. Right, so that's the blueberry mulched, and we'll leave it and see what happens. Now we do have little son of life coming out of this one, so it's trying to live. Yeah, a little son of life there. So obviously I'm not expecting a crop out of it this year, but hopefully if it picks up and gets going, next year we might get a few blueberries out of it. I did have tomatoes along the middle as well, but now that I've got a second greenhouse, I really don't need this space because it really made it difficult to get through here, because once the tomatoes got going, they sort of took up this space and left me just a tiny gap to squeeze through there and a tiny gap to squeeze through there. So I think just not have anything in the middle here. I'll have the 2 cucumbers in the corners here by the door, either side of the door, and of them going up a string. But I don't think I need to put tomatoes in the middle anymore because I've got the new greenhouse. Well, it's there, it's not up yet, but once it's up I won't need to squeeze it quite as much into this greenhouse. So I'll not need this central space for tomatoes. Gives me a bit more room, makes it a bit easier to go around the greenhouse. When the tomatoes were out here, it made it very difficult to squeeze through. So I think I'm not going to bother with anything this year in the middle. Famous last words, I probably will. I'll probably overgrow putting too many things, and I won't have the heart to throw them in the compost heap, so I'll end up squeezing something in here in the end. But the plan is not to put anything here. Right, the wire is done, and started tying in the tomatoes. I had a really heavy frost last night, so they're just looking a little bit sorry for themselves. This was transplanted yesterday, so obviously it's going into shock and the cold, but ones like this one are fine. So yeah, that's working fine. I'll put a couple of nails in on the side of this window, so that'll hold it in place, as well as the duct tape. And if it lasts another winter, maybe 2, because I may or may not get around to replacing some of this stuff, because it is really falling apart. And it's not going to last too many more winters, so either this winter or next winter these will need to be replaced. I've put some posts in and put some wire so I can train the raspberries along, and then I will put posts at this end as well, so there'll be 3 rows of raspberries with strawberries in between them, and then the back will also be raspberries tied to the wire and strawberries in between them. Then the fruit bushes are doing alright. My friend John came in, and he's got some young gooseberries. He took a couple of cuttings from my gooseberries, and he took a gooseberry plant from here. But I've got all these other gooseberries that I don't really need, and I had some scrap metal, and I said, well, if you can build a cage out of it to protect it from the pigeons, you can have the gooseberries. You can come and pick the gooseberries whenever you want. So he's built this really solid cage. I mean, I was thinking just stick half a dozen poles in the ground and throw some netting over it, but he's made this really solid cage. It's not going anywhere, this isn't shifting. So he can come in and pick the gooseberries until the ones on his plot are ready and fruiting. That's this lot sorted for the next couple of years. I've filled up another bag with all the weeds and roots and stuff that I'm digging up. So this one will get covered, and I've set another one up. It's got a hole in the bottom, so that once it's down, worms will be able to get in and do their business. I've tied it to that one. I'll tie this end to that bit, and that's gone through the metal pearl there, so that'll hold it, and I can start filling this one because I've still got a lot more weeding to do. Right, it's time to clear this bed of all the rubbish and get rid of a lot of the crud. Now look, I found more weeds. They were just waiting on this lot. I'll add that to the scrap metal collection. Put this carpet. dust. Jeez. I think I'm going to get my first face mask before I deal with that carpet. A little piece here. Famous last words, he says. Yep, that's come up. Good. So we can get this bit out. Trouble is, I put huge compost heap on top of it, so I don't think that's shifting anytime soon. Bricks. I mean, this place, everything is in layers. You pick up one layer of rubbish, you find another layer of rubbish. Right, let's give this another go. Crumbs. There's carpet over here. This one. I can see worms down there. So it must be good soil, but crumbs. I think we need, maybe I should shovel some of the stuff that's on top of it off it and then try to lift the rest. This bed is going to be fruit trees, so fruit bushes, so I'm not worried about putting this stuff back on top of the soil, as long as I know it is the soil I'm putting it back on rather than another layer of carpet. And yeah, that's good soil. It takes a bit of force to get into it, but then if it's been sitting on the carpet for God knows how many years, that's to be expected. But once it's had some rotten old bits of wood, once it's had some good, I mean this is going through the carpet but it couldn't get through, so there's so much rubbish on top of it, it managed to get through. Right, so I know there's some weeds in here matted together, but I'll come back and sort them out later. I just want to get the carpet off if I can. Right. Yep. Well, if I can get the carpet off this half, I can put the mulch on this half and then pull the carpet off the other half. Oops. Grass. Definitely don't want that. There we go, more grass. Oh dear. Something must have broken down here. There's a lot of broken grass here. Yeah, these are going to be goji berries, so so they need to be good 1.5 meters apart at least. So oh, it's kicking something heavy. Give my saw back. I'm chucking saw away. Get it off the back of something. But yeah, the goji berries need to be at least 1.5 to 2 meters apart. So when I put them in, I don't have to do that much digging, just the odd spot. But then when I put those in, I was finding, oh god, find something else that's nasty. It's metal, something coming out. Gordy. Find out what that is later. When I was planting those bushes on that side, I was digging stuff from like 20-25 centimeters down. So I expect there will be more of the same on this side. But once I start digging, I'll dig up all sorts. Right, let's lift this, let's see what happens. Oh, crumbs. Oh no, more blooming carpet under that. I don't believe it. How many layers of carpet can you put on a piece of ground? You lift one layer, there's another one underneath it, and you lift that one, there's another layer underneath it. I have to watch my language, but I do feel a bit annoyed. I've got stronger words, but I'm not going to use them. Because I was trying to lift that carpet to be able to lift the bits of rubbish that's there. But, crumbs. Yeah. One more broken glass. Bane of my life, that. I'm trying to move anything, but that's the trouble with this place. You don't put your hand in the ground, because I've dug up so much grass, and I know there's a lot more down here. And I don't, there, just filling in the hole that was left by the rhubarb with this stuff. And this rhubarb started sending out flower seeds, but I think it's because of the unusual weather we've got. That it's very dry. We haven't had a rain for weeks, and it's been cold and hot, and he thinks it's summer. I can scrape. Good. Yeah, I felt that huge, great hole with just the bits of soil I'm skimming off the top of this carpet, because he's got so much of it. They must have been down here for years to accumulate that much, considering they didn't do anything with this. But there's something nasty here. Aha, got it. That's a bit of concrete. Right. All that was left by the rhubarb is now just about full. And I've got more soil to go through. Ah. think you've seen enough of this. I'll keep going and get back to you when I get to do something interesting. Hello, it's time to get rid of this stump and burn it. I've taken out some of the soil under the roots so I can get some papers and things under the roots, and then I can burn as much of the roots as possible, make sure it doesn't come back. All these remnants of the fern that was here as well, they'll go. These are all the other branches that we cut off, so they'll all go in the barrel. So let's get some paper under that. Right. So, under there, once it gets going, this will apply under the roots and not just from the top. Waiting for the fire to get going.